Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to pull back the curtain and bring you along as I do an interview shoot with a client, and I'm going to share 6 tips that you can do to create powerful interview videos. My name is Cree and I own a marketing and video production company based out of Las Vegas. And on this channel, what I'd like to do is share not only the tech that I use for my video production services, but also how I actually apply it and place some context around that equipment. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I invite you to subscribe. In today's video, what I'm going to do is bring you along on a video shoot with a client. This is an interview type of a video shoot, but this is just with one person. And what I'd like to share with you today are 6 of the key tips that I think are the most important things to consider when going out to do a shoot like this. The first tip is to spend a lot of time planning. Now, this is not the fun part. It really isn't. This means you're going to sit down and you're actually going to put your schedule down for the day, like to the minute. That means that you're allocating a time for you to drive to the location. If you're going somewhere, you're giving yourself time to set up. You're giving yourself time to prepare your interviewee. Also, breaks during the shoot, what time you plan on wrapping up the shoot, and then also give yourself time to pack up and leave. Another thing you want to do is put a script together. That means that you have a clear plan as to what you're going to talk about and what you're going to have your interviewee speak about during this interview. So the main reason why planning is so important is because, first of all, it helps you set up boundaries and expectations. As a business owner, and especially as a videographer, you can show up on site and you can video all day long, but your time is precious and so is your client. So by putting your schedule together, they know exactly what the day is going to look like. And then by putting that script together, they know exactly what they're going to talk about. So here's another thing about planning. Your clients are probably going to be nervous. Most of the time, they just don't have a lot of experience being on camera. And by putting a plan together and communicating that clearly ahead of time, well, you're just going to you're going to set your client up for success. Also, you're going to set yourself up for success. You know exactly what you're going to do while you're there. You know exactly how much to charge. You know exactly, by the time you leave at the end of that video shoot, you're going to have all the footage and all the information that you need to do the edit. So put a ton of time into planning, and it's just going to make your life so much easier. All right, tip number 2 kind of falls under planning, but it has to do with your equipment. Now, in addition to planning your schedule and your script, figure out what it is that you're going to take on site for your equipment. Now, if you are a solo videographer, that means that you're also the producer. So my advice is to be as simple as possible with your equipment. That means don't take a lot of it. Because what happens is when you get on site, the more equipment you have, the more setup time you need, and then also during the shoot, it's just more things for you to manage. So what you want to be able to do is set up your equipment, have it all tested and ready to go. And then by the time your client's there, you can put all your focus on your client and production. Make sure that you are tuning into their needs, helping them with their nervousness, helping them with their preparation, and all of those things. So by minimizing the amount of equipment that you take with you, and making sure that you plan the day before, have it all packed up and ready to go. If it's helpful, put a checklist together for future shoots, but make sure that your equipment is simplified, organized, and that you are ready to show up on video shoot day. Tip number 3, this ties into your client and their nervousness levels, and also your script. What I recommend is that you record in segments. So rather than having your client sit down and just speak for hours, maybe in some situations, or for a long period of time, really break those chunks of information down into segments. And that will give your client who's nervous, they've got to sit in front of a camera and look at cameras and look at you, and it's just weird. It's really an uncomfortable situation to be in. By breaking down big chunks of information into smaller segments and then recording them in segments, then it's just going to make your day a lot easier with your client. They have less to remember in the moment, and you're going to actually move through your video shoot a lot quicker. Now, when you're doing your segments, think about your edit in the back of your mind, what that might look like. And remember, you're the producer. So give your client guidance, not only on what they're speaking about, but also on their voice fluctuations, like the beginning and the end of those segments, and just make sure that you have nice, clean, clear transitions in between those segments. Tip number 4 seems simple, but is so important. Monitor your audio the entire time. What this means is that you have earbuds in the entire time, or you have headphones in the entire time. I prefer earbuds. I do that because I can really place them in my ear if I need to hear very clearly, or I can kind of have them float outside of my ear. But either way, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that things have not gone wrong with the audio. I can't tell you how many times I ended up back at the studio after a shoot and I didn't have the audio I needed. And I'll tell you what, going back to your client and saying, I messed up, we have to re-record, is not a situation that you want to be in. So, monitoring your video is pretty easy. All cameras pretty much have screens on them. But the big secret tip, I think, is to monitor your audio, especially with lavalier mics. Those shift and move. I do video shoots with women with long hair, and sometimes their hair will move over the lav mic and it'll create some scratching noises, or there might be, heating or air conditioning vents going on. So be in tune with your client. Make sure that you're monitoring audio, but you're not just monitoring audio, you're also listening to what they're saying. So again, you're that producer. You can step in and give them the guidance that they need, and everything is going to sound great once you get back to your office and you're doing your edit. So tip number 5 is to take breaks. Even if it's just an hour-long shoot, up to a half-day shoot, up to a full-day shoot. Make sure those breaks are in your schedule, but pay attention to how your client is feeling. What'll happen is if they've been sitting there and speaking for a long period of time, you can see them. They start to flub their words, or they start to get uncomfortable and move a lot. This means they need a break. So make sure that you're taking water breaks, you're taking restroom breaks. And what I like to do with my clients, especially if they're stressed out, is really just have them stand up, do some stretching exercises, maybe dance, put a little music on, run in place, get their legs moving, and just kind of ground them, help them get grounded so that when they're in front of the camera, they're ready to be their best selves, and they'll just be a lot more comfortable as a result. All right, tip number 6, and this just might be the most important tip in this video, is always shoot 2 camera angles. Now, I love the 85 millimeter focal lengths when I'm shooting videos. I'll have 35 millimeters as my main and 85 millimeters set up to the side at like a 45-degree angle. I really enjoy that. And not only is the look nice and it gives you a chance to keep that interview footage engaging for the watcher, but also it helps you to hide mistakes in the cuts that you're going to have to make when you're editing these interview videos. Again, I can't tell you how many times this has saved me in my edit. It gives you a backup of the video, and it just makes that edit so much more engaging. Now, I understand some of you might not have 2 cameras. I suggest using a phone as your second camera, even a client's phone, but try to be creative and come up with something to get that second camera angle, and you'll thank me for it at some point in time. So look, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so below. More tech with context videos coming soon. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.